Hello, it's me. Welcome to another episode of Convo with the Columns, where we're on like take 333 now.
For real. For real. It's fun just even getting to practice.
Well, that's what new married couples talk about.
And old married couples.
True that. Today, we are continuing a topic that we briefly referenced in the last episode, which was all of the amazing experiences that we have witnessed or personally encountered with horses because horses seem to be a significant portion of our daily lives.
Yes. Yes, they do. Gratefully. Gratefully.
So, if you think about a prominent moment that you have witnessed related to a horse or a horse encountering a person and the person's experience, what would come to mind to you?
Yeah, I think I have said this before. Like, I feel like we could write a book about all the experiences we witnessed with horses or even nature and people. Um, yeah, and I think I'm gonna back it up just a little bit, but we've
Like a
created
sneak peek?
yeah. Yeah. We've created a lot of space, like intentional space for people to engage horses, um, with coaching with horses groups. We've done marriage retreats with horses. Now we're partnering, um, with Rob Wiley and Non-Typical Outfitters to do some different coaching experiences up in the mountains with horses. So it's offered a lot of opportunity for us to witness some things. But um, yeah, there's so many, I think, experiences. Again, I feel like we should write a book about it one day. But one of the most significant ones that I always go to when I think about it um, was there was a group. We were hosting a coaching group of about 6. Um, and there was a lady that was in the round pen. I believe you were in there with her. And the round pen was cinder block
Mhm.
and and it was covered
Was.
and
Roof over it.
had a roof over it. And so the spectators were on the outside looking over the round pen wall. And right outside of the round pen was a Bradford pear tree that was in full bloom with these
Mhm.
white petals. And at some point in the coaching process, the lady just said, I just want to be washed clean. I remember the instructions were for her to close her eyes. And in that moment, this gust of wind blew and these white petals just blew into the round pen and just created this whirlwind around her. And she had her arms stretched out. I remember that too. And she just had her eyes closed and her arms stretched out. And this whirlwind of white petals just wrapped around her and blew around her. And everybody was just in awe of what they were experiencing because and I think it was in moments like that too that undeniably something is present greater than ourselves.
For sure.
And there's no way that you and or I could have orchestrated something like that. And it was just pure love, unconditional love and holiness that just filled that space and literally just washed her clean with a bunch of white petals.
Mhm.
And you and I consider those spaces anytime we're coaching pretty sacred. And so, um, we don't allow cell phones or anything like that, but I remember grabbing out my phone in that moment just because I was like, "W w she needs to see what just happened," and just snapping a photo of those white petals just wrapping around her and getting to share that with her after the experience, and not only did she have the witnesses of the group, but she had something tangible to take home to remind her because even her eyes were closed, she was experiencing it, even though she maybe wasn't seeing in the natural what was going on. She was feeling it and knew exactly what was happening. It was just that one stands out, I think, so much to not only how the horse participated and helped her get kinda bring a mirror to get her to that breakthrough, but also how all of nature just cooperated. The
Mhm.
wind and the tree and the it was just fascinating.
Yeah, this isn't a statement meant to take it off topic, but it's something that I've realized for quite some time, in that we don't usually get to experience nature bearing witness to truth due to the fact that we have put ourselves in a building that inoculates us from experiencing nature's response. And so, because we were outside and we're very much in the elements, um, we've known this to be true on multiple occasions. When truth is received by the participant, or truth is declared in a way that it's not rejected, or a participant has breakthrough where they're receiving a measure of truth or understanding of themselves, wind almost always shows up.
Yes, and it's usually even you can feel the wind come before they even utter the words. It's like they know. It's like, Holy Spirit knows, obviously, but, like, there's knowledge, and then the wind comes almost like an encouragement for them to say it out loud. It's I don't know. It's really powerful.
Right.
Mhm.
So those moments have happened even when there aren't horses involved, to your
Yes.
point of nature responding. But in
Yes.
that moment, it was a super reverent circumstance. I think probably
Mhm.
it's not that other situations where people have had breakthrough isn't reverent or admirable or awe-striking, if you will,
Right.
but
Even worthy of celebrating. Yeah.
that one in particular, um, just in the nature of how it manifested and the vortex that it created with all of those petals off of the flowers from the tree,
Mhm.
which in and of itself, I'm a very literal person. And so from where she was in the round pen to where the tree was is probably, 12, 15 yards. And again, pretty covered area.
Mhm.
You've got a gap between the ceiling or the covering of the round pen and the wall itself of 3.5 feet or whatever. And so
Mhm.
for that wind in the way that all of that was set up to have picked up those petals, bring them in and surround her literally in
Mhm.
just like this whirlwind,
Yeah.
um, was extremely profound.
Yeah. We experienced something similar, on the last women's wilderness adventure in Wyoming, um, where the wind just cooperated with a moment that was just undeniable to all of us,
Mm,
where it was just so still and so quiet that morning, and, um there was just a moment of breakthrough, and the wind came and left all of us just tears streaming, and just the tangible presence of God and how much He, yeah, wants to prove how much He loves us and how faithful He is. It was
mhm,
just really beautiful. But we've also seen, like horses do, some just amazing things that, um, we wouldn't be able to orchestrate, or let me just even say, like, that's not even our desire. Like, I think even if we could train a horse to do some of the things we've seen them do, it's not what we're interested in doing. That's not how I wanna spend my time with a horse. I don't think that's how you wanna spend your time with a horse.
Well, yeah, I mean, it to me, sometimes it doesn't even bear mentioning because you and I both carry a desire for everything to be authentic.
For real.
And what I'm not sure of, but I have heard conversations around is there can be times that horses are used in interactions that may not be as genuine as they could be because our goal is for a person to recognize that when they're being sincere and authentic and honest, then that creates a measure of safety that then attracts a horse
Yep,
by however that innate design is within them.
yep.
And specifically, even in leadership,
Mhm,
if we're not certain of ourselves, if we're hiding, if we're creating a mask, if we have a false sense of direction or where we're going, then a horse is not inclined to want to partner in that.
mhm,
But what's fun is these horses are what we call at liberty. There's no halter on them. There's no nothing. They're just turned loose in the round pen.
mhm,
And so to that point, I remember one time there was a lady that was struggling with boundaries,
mhm,
and the conversation somehow turned into, you know, oftentimes we're just having active dialogue with people. So we don't have a syllabus, we don't have an agenda, we don't have a rehearsed process whatsoever,
nope.
whether it be with us or with the horse. That's the whole point. It's,
Yeah, we often say, we're trusting the process as much as you. We don't know what's gonna come up or how the horse is gonna respond. Yeah.
yeah. So in that conversation, I remember the need for her to understand how much she tolerates people crossing boundaries.
Mhm,
And I don't recall the conversation. Oftentimes that's my case. Like I don't remember half of what gets said, I think, which is really fun in and of itself. But
mhm,
in this instance, I do remember just kind of the visual of I was in the round pen with her, and I remember feeling compelled to want to use my foot to draw a line in the sand of the round pen
mhm,
and begin to have a conversation of what that looked like in her everyday life. And again, not remembering the specifics of the conversation, I just remember at some point when she begins to realize how much of a passive person that she was. Like sometimes you can hear the term doormat
mhm,
related to somebody that tolerates other individuals walking all over them and taking advantage of them. Just that acknowledgement of intolerance in her life,
mhm.
um, whatever that light bulb was for her and the way that she connected that. I remember the horse comes up out of nowhere. I mean, he was as far away as he can be in a 40-foot round pen from us. We were in the center,
Mhm.
relatively in the center of the round pen, and he just comes up from behind me out of nowhere and walks up and stands directly in front of that lady. And through the rest of that conversation, that horse never once crossed that line.
Mm-mm.
To your point of training, obviously, people can probably train horses to show up to a line or whatever, stunt horse. I don't know because that's not my life.
Right, that's yeah.
I do train horses.
Mhm.
I refuse to train them for tricks. And so we also knew this horse, and to see things happen like that that you have never necessarily witnessed before,
Mhm,
behaviorally, like for them to just show up out of nowhere and
mhm.
interact in a way with no instruction, um, I think at times is hard to put language to even.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I think another one that really stands out, and if I remember correctly, it was a pretty young horse, and there was a lady we were working with, and she kind of backed up to the wall of the round pen and was just getting, feeling really vulnerable around what was coming up for her. And she said, I just want to run out of here. Not because she was afraid of the horse, but because of she was just afraid of, that vulnerability of sharing something. And when she said, I just want to run out of here, the horse walked over and just untied her tennis shoes with his
Mm,
teeth. And just I remember just laughing like, "We can't make this stuff up." Like, I wouldn't even have thought of that, but it was just so amazing how much that they are, um, what I believe, just listening to a God that wants his kids to be seen and just partnering with him in that way.
yeah.
But, yeah.
You also alluded to some of this in the last conversation, but you had a really cool experience with a horse
Mhm.
the first time that you went up to Wyoming, your
Yes.
own personal experience.
Yes, and I've had some really, precious moments in my life where a horse has shown up for me. Um, my little personal mare, I still have. Like,
Mhm.
there were moments that she just, took care of me and showed up for me in a time when, I needed a friend, I
For
would
sure.
say. Um And I it's kind of the same, this horse, the way he showed up for me the first time we went to Wyoming, and I dialogued this. I was just in a place where I was just exhausted and hadn't really ridden, um, in probably 2 years, I would say, which is a long time for me. Not consistently, like, maybe thrown a leg over it, but not really had ridden.
Mhm.
And, um, yeah, and so was physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted, um, spiritually exhausted, and was super just nervous, I guess, or hesitant about because we were going on a pack trip and I knew it was going to be a lot of riding and was unfamiliar with the territory. I'm an arena rider, not hadn't hadn't spent any time at all riding in the mountains. And so it was just pretty leery and didn't know if I even had the energy to do it and was just trusting. I think I said that in the last podcast, was just trusting you in that. And um yeah, and then just getting on that horse and all my uncertainties, even where I was in life and where I was headed and what I wanted to do and just some decisions I was making, and there was just a point in along the ride where I was just still uncertain and my hat blew off. And, um, and we were on the side of the mountain, so I hopped off, grabbed my hat, and found a rock to get back on, and when I went to hop on him, the rock slipped, and I literally, like, slid under his belly, and that horse just never moved a muscle and just stood there and patiently waited for me to literally climb out from underneath him. And, I think it was just at that moment, I was like, "He has me, and I can let go and just trust that it's gonna be good."
Mhm.
And he did. He packed me around that whole week and, was just so kind, and I've had the privilege of getting to witness him do that for a couple of other people. It looked completely different.
For sure. Yeah, it's always fascinating when we get to see so the way that coaching with horses started for us is we were invited into a space from a friend who had a small group and was wanting us to do something around horses with them. So we show up to a place that we didn't know, had never been to, had no idea what was there to use even.
Mhm.
And as we looked around, we gathered what made sense
Mhm.
in that interaction. And so that was the launch of the first time you and I physically coached with horses. Now,
Mhm.
I can look back and I can see where that stuff was happening without my awareness in my role
For sure.
at the job, but that was the first time that you and I physically interacted coaching people using horses.
Mhm.
But because we have horses, when we do groups, marriage retreats, whatever that looks like, even one on ones, we typically have those horses in our possession. And so we know the horses.
Mhm.
But to your point of even the experience going up to Rob, Rob has his own set of horses,
Mhm.
and we don't really know those horses as well as obviously our own. We're
Mhm.
I'm learning them, we're learning them, I guess. But to be able to see those horses interact with different people and the way that those horses show up to the person is always fascinating. So we can see that within the stuff that we own,
Mhm.
different types of behaviors of the horses that may or may not be very consistent. You just get to see something unique in that horse.
Mhm.
But but I think that's part of also the fascination because our desire is for this to be really authentic,
Yeah.
which goes back to the point of we don't have horses because they somehow serve a particular role in the modality of coaching with people. We have horses because we love horses. I still
Mhm.
train horses, start colts, whatever.
Mhm.
We have our own around, but because we've been given a vision of utilizing them, then it's fun to see the different aspects of horses show up in response to the way a person is showing up.
Mhm. Yeah, I think, yes, we've used I think we've even done this a couple times, gone to other spaces, people's places that had horses and used theirs. Yeah. So it's not we don't always just use ours. Um,
We don't have to just use ours.
right. No, it's just right. When we have used especially I think what stands out to me though is marriage retreats whenever we break the wives up into a group and work with them, and then we work with the men, but we use the same set of horses for the wives as we do for the husbands.
Mhm.
And whenever it's just super fun to see, and we ask that they not dialogue. Matter of fact, they usually don't have space to dialogue in between kind of the switch over. And it's really fascinating to see how this same horse will show up completely different. Because oftentimes the spouses will end up choosing the same horse, not always, but sometimes they'll end up with the same horse
Right.
and see the horse show up completely different um, to the different people that are in the round pen with them. That's always fun to witness and then have them come back and dialogue it later.
Mm.
Yeah.
We have also seen really erratic behaviors in horses due to the way that people show up.
Yeah, even some of, like, our tired, super docile, there have been a couple instances where you're like, "Where in the world did that come from?"
This is where it becomes a fascinating conversation because in those moments, as much as you and I are okay with the atmosphere is we're trying to show up and meet the person where they're at.
Mhm.
But where that person goes is completely up to them.
Mhm.
It's up to their free will.
Mhm.
And so the reason why I preface it that way is that determines the response in the horse. The horse
Mhm.
is mirroring a lot of the atmosphere that the person's carrying versus what you and I are carrying.
Mhm.
because they're not questioning us,
Mhm.
but because we're focused on the person, then it gives the horse permission to show up relative to the atmosphere.
Mhm.
And when the person chooses to get safe, the horse shows up and has a desire to connect.
Mhm.
And so I think that alone to me, you can take a really chaotic or really anxious individual and you can pull them out of that round pen and instantly see the behavior in that horse change.
Mhm.
So in most scenarios, either you or I will be in the round pen with the person
Mhm.
and that horse that is loose. And so literally as soon as a person leaves, were they to be carrying that much chaos in their life, you can physically or instantaneous shift
Mhm.
happen with that horse. Um, but conversely, as soon as somebody chooses to express vulnerability, especially as they're sharing in their story or something like that, you'll see the curiosity of a horse show up to the point where they will physically come across a round pen
Mhm.
to interact with a person.
Mhm. And I think it's yeah, it's there've been some really precious moments where we've seen them almost not almost, they did, like, trot up to them and, like, hug them.
Mhm.
And, um, I think another instance is yeah, or just sometimes walk up to them and almost kinda nudge them out of the way, like, to encourage them,
Mhm. Bump them.
bump them. Um, it's yeah, I think too what's always fascinating is we've seen even if someone has a physical ailment, like, them kinda highlight that at different times. The horse, I remember, and this isn't really necessarily a physical ailment, but there was a lady that came that was struggling with her mental health, like, really struggling, and at one point, the horse literally was just kissing all over her head, like, just all over her head, and just continued to do that for several minutes, and it was so beautiful, and just to see her, get touched by that, and we could go on and on. I'm overwhelmed now kinda with memories of the things that we've had the
What's another one?
honor of well, I think this goes to, well, I'll stay with some really precious, like, moments of what I think are comfort and, um, one where, it was a male really struggling to forgive himself, and then the moment he did, how what the horse that was in the round pen with him just walked up and just scooped him up and just loved on him, and it was just, oh my goodness, so precious. And yeah, another beautiful moment is one was really struggling with just trusting anybody, and I remember you had her sit in the middle of the round pen in the dirt, and through the process, and the horse just come up and just kinda stood over and just kinda played with her like a 2 little kids playing in the sandbox,
Hmm.
and her just um, trusting the horse in that moment that it didn't have an agenda, it was just curious and wanted to play,
Right.
and that was so sweet. Um, I think another thing that I still have a lot of curiosity around, yeah, I would love to even learn more, is how many times we've witnessed, um, people that may be carrying a secret or something that's really heavy that they haven't shared before, and once they share it, to witness a horse yawn
Mhm.
and, like, big yawn,
Right.
and we've seen that happen over and over again,
Release.
release, and it it's just wild to me.
Yeah, I would use this language. I believe that horses are extremely sensitive to the spirit realm,
Mhm.
and to even witness the amount of times that I will find horses' attention instantly be captured
Mhm,
in moments that I don't necessarily see or
mhm,
perceive things in the spirit, but I can sense when a horse is seeing something, whether it
mhm,
be, angelic or demonic.
mhm,
Um, I very much believe that, well, we know that there's biblical precedence of that. Um, Balaam and the donkey.
mhm. Yeah.
So we know for a fact, according to scripture, if we believe that to
Mhm,
be true, that horses can see in the spirit.
mhm.
And Balaam never saw the angel of the Lord that was in front of him while the donkey was actually trying to preserve him from what was impending
Yeah.
or awaiting him.
I know that story makes me very sad because the donkey kept getting spankings, but he didn't get the final word.
Yeah.
He got to speak.
Wonder who the dumbass was on that one.
Yeah. I think too, when someone is struggling with, um, like some sexual stuff in their life, either pornography or sex addiction, like we will see the horses tell us.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a really specific response and all that.
Yeah. And that's always been really fascinating. Um, again, no judgment. It just helps us set, you know, hopefully set somebody free from.
Well, a phrase that we often use is you cannot change or heal what you're unwilling to acknowledge.
Yeah. So true.
And the thing that's fascinating about horses is how well they read all that stuff with no need of
Mhm.
history, no need of the story, none
Mhm.
of it matters.
Yep.
It's they're so adept at just being really authentic mirrors
Mhm.
to present circumstance. And yeah, I think it's still, you can get into all the psychology that you want to, but at the end of the day, none of that's going to help explain what truth does.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
But it's still very fascinating on how willing they are to want to show up.
Mhm.
I think even when you look throughout the Bible, it is one of the few animals that I believe was specifically created for partnership with humanity.
Mhm.
There's definitely other animals that you can see has opportunity for interaction with humanity,
Mhm.
but I don't believe that it's to the same level that a horse has.
Yeah.
And there's specific things that a human and a horse can accomplish that no other animal human dynamic
Mhm.
can.
Yeah. I need to fact check this because I'm not for sure, or maybe you have. You're more the Bible scholar, but uh, I think horses are mentioned in the Bible more than any other animal,
It's not more, but it's almost as much as sheep.
but it's not more as sheep.
Mm-mm.
Okay, it's a lot.
It is.
Mhm.
Yes, that was something that I was prompted to look up at some point in processing, because at
Mhm.
that time we were doing a lot of coaching
Mhm.
with horses in the groups,
Yeah.
and I just really felt like Holy Spirit asked me to look up the value system that God has for the horse and the person.
Yep.
And so much of the Bible references Jesus as a lamb,
Mhm.
and the analogy or the parabolic nature of sheep and lambs. And because of the frequency of that, I was prompted to go look up how much horses were referenced relative to the sheep lamb conversation. And depending upon which translation, it's almost as much as the
Yeah.
very thing that Jesus was referenced as, and or that analogy,
Mm.
even for us being sheep.
Yeah.
But you also see, I mean, not to get into a preach, but the whole book of Revelation is a vision of the angelic realm partnering with horses.
Mhm.
in battles.
Mhm.
Yeah, you and I were listening to, a guy share his experience where he had gone into a pretty remote area
Mhm.
of trying to minister, and he was extremely persecuted on account of that, beaten to the point where they thought he was dead, so they threw him in the river, but he didn't drown. And when he comes to and washes up, he manages to find his horse that he had rode to that area with,
Mhm.
um, and then proceeds to talk about how whatever strength that God had given him in that moment, he was able to muster up, get on his horse, tie himself on, and then he passed out again. And his horse took him back to where he lived. And
Mhm.
there's been several instances of that. I mean, that's just a super recent one that comes to
Mhm.
mind, but there's been several instances where uh, I even remember when we were in high school, used to help some family friends down at home with their ranch. And we had pushed a bunch of cow calf pairs up into some summer grass. And it was, I don't know, 8 or 10 miles, I guess, from where we had taken that stuff to. We were coming back and we had gotten to jacking around like young teenage boys, just in our own little world. And, you know, our dads and everybody had kind of moved on past us. But in our conversations, we looked up and we had wound up in an area that we weren't super familiar with. And it's, I mean, it's pretty big country down in southeast
Mhm.
Oklahoma. Um, and so we were having a conversation. And I remember him saying, well, if we can find a fence, we'll just follow the fence. Problem was there really wasn't any or many fences whatsoever anyway. And in Oklahoma, we don't technically have mountains compared to,
Right.
like what we experience in Wyoming. But the Ouachita National Forest comes down into the bottom. And so heavily timbered. It's not
Mhm.
like you can see a long ways. But I remember we just kind of instinctively we're both choosing to trust our horses and our instincts.
Mhm.
Um, but it was serious enough that his dad was literally about to come drive up and see if he could find us.
Mm.
It was getting close to dark. We were several hours behind because of, I think, the direction that we'd gone further south instead of back east or back west, I guess it would be. But to that point, trusting that horses know how to get you home,
Mhm.
loosely something that I have even sort of experienced, not to the degree that I was knocked out unconscious and they just got me home. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I think there's always a lot of really profound stories or experiences where, as you and I communicate with people, we were created for connection.
Mhm.
That's the way that we were designed.
Yeah.
But because life creates a lot of distrust and hurts in connection, then people are prone to want to get that connection any way they can. And the next closest way to
Mhm.
do that is often through companion animals, which has become a horse.
Mhm.
So it's fascinating to see their willingness to want to partner or how they can partner
Yeah.
or even how they can give us feedback.
Yes, they're gonna give it feedback too.
Excellent.
I got a little feedback a couple months ago. Don't rush it.
Don't rush it, you say.
Don't be so impatient. Yeah. Yeah. I think though, to say kinda go back to how they are created to connect and we're created for connection. Um, one thing that I feel like you and I both are adamant about though is not only like we celebrate those beautiful moments that we've had the honor of witnessing, but The horse was never created to substitute human connection.
Mhm. Would you like
And
to say that again?
yeah, the horse was never created to substitute human connection. And we see that even, Adam had access to horses, I'm assuming, in the garden, and God was still like, hey, it's not good for man to be alone. And so I know I won't speak for you, but I feel like I know personally there was a season where that was the safest connection I felt like was with a horse. And
Well, yeah, I mean, complete disclaimer, I have a horse named Counselor.
I wasn't going to share your story. But yes, and he's precious. Um, yeah, but even when we're coaching people and we're really adamant about telling them that the horse isn't their savior and the
Mm,
horse isn't their answer.
right.
Um, High appreciation and value
Mhm.
that they are not your answer.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's often not realistic. Like, I think what's real and factual, but also really disheartening or sad is people are so starved for connection that when they get it from a horse, all of a sudden they start getting curious about how they can remain connected to that individual as if
mhm.
it won't be possible for any other opportunity down the road.
Yeah,
And I think that's the part that gets sad, or where we find so many people that attach themselves to horses in unhealthy ways.
for sure.
Again, I've been guilty of that, so it's not a judgment to anybody, but
Mhm.
the horse isn't the answer, doing the work is.
No, I think we've even witnessed that coaching with horses when someone comes in and um, they're craving that connection. They're starved out from connection and how we've witnessed them like literally almost chase a horse in a round pen, like trying to get that connection. And the
Mm.
horse is like,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Yeah,
go
the
away.
desperate part shows up.
Yeah. And horses sense that and they're not,
Mhm.
they, it's, yeah, they're not as willing, um, to partner because they know they're not your answer, right? They want to, they want to show up for you, but not rescue you. What are you processing? You're in deep thought over there.
Well, I don't think it's any different than you. I think you go back and you start thinking about all the encounters that we've witnessed or experienced with, horses and the interactions and just the things that come to mind. I mean,
Mhm.
there like, people have asked me this the majority of my life, but there's never been a day that I can recall that I would not have been able to put my hand on a horse if I chose to.
Mhm.
Since I was born, literally, I've never had a day where I couldn't
Mhm.
touch a
Yeah.
horse. Um, and so at 49 years old, there's a whole lot of memories that come to mind,
Mhm.
whether it's specific to coaching with horses or even just overseeing, interns.
Mhm.
And some of the funniest moments that I have in that season of the job was walking up on somebody struggling and then encouraging them to get to the point where they would think that they would believe that they could do something. And as soon as they thought it, instantly that horse would respond,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is how quick that they were sensing. Back to our statement, if our thoughts control our emotions and our emotions control our actions, as soon as you become agreeable to a truth statement, a horse will respond that fast
Yeah.
before you physically do anything.
Yeah.
Just the idea of you acknowledging and agreeing to truth
Mhm.
causes them to respond in a way. So I think there's a lot of those in my head that I was just thinking of, stall after stall after stall, where you walk up and see somebody,
Yeah.
or even just the compassion of horses. If it was God's design that that particular creation a horse be the most complementary to humanity
Mhm.
in doing something together, which I believe is the case, then there's also this intrinsic value that I believe horses carry akin to.
We're back in business.
I think we're back.
The struggle is real.
I don't know what it is about this particular conversation, but apparently there seems to be some resistance towards it.
Yes. I don't know.
What I was attempting to say before I was so rudely interrupted by technology is that horses have what I would be inclined to describe as an inherent fruit of the spirit.
What do you mean?
So the fruit of the spirit's listed as peace, love, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control.
Mhm.
And so when we are showing up authentic and giving them a safe place, that is the natural byproduct of their response.
Mhm.
Maybe saying it different is I think that of all of creation that I have experienced anyway, they are the most grace filled animal that I know of.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
So the amount of times that you can mess up and they don't
Mhm.
hold that against you
Yeah.
inherently. When I
Mhm.
say mess up, I mean you can abuse horses and you can break their trust
For sure.
and it can leave some really harmful impressions on them and they can become really unsafe on
Mhm.
account of it. But just in our stupidity and ignorance, there's a lot of grace that horses give us.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I know mine have. Mine give me a lot of grace. Oh.
Well, there are always opportunities for people to experience coaching with horses. That's something that you're inclined to want to experience. Reach out. We have a few around. We can make that happen.
Right now we have a little too many too many around.
We have a few too many.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think it's just another adventurous way to learn more about yourself.
It is,
Yeah.
even a non traditional way.
Mhm.
And so those opportunities will be more abounding in 2026 as we will have a few more opportunities than we presently have had.
Yeah.
Um, so stay tuned for what those look like.
Yeah. I'm excited.
But until then, I suppose that concludes this particular topic of conversation with Combo with the Golems. See you next time.